Welcome back. Okay, so the next theme is the alliance system. So we pretty much laid the groundworks for this one in the previous podcast, as we finished off by saying that by 1907 there were two main power groups in Europe. There was the Triple Alliance, which had been formed by Bismarck way back in 1882. That was Germany, Austria and Italy, so in the centre of Europe. And then after the fall of Bismarck, as we saw in the previous podcast, the Kaiser had come along, and through his rather unsubtle diplomacy of Weltpolitik, the outcome was Bismarck's worst nightmare, that effectively Germany was now surrounded by a potentially hostile rival alliance that consisted of France, Britain and Russia, the so-called Triple Entente. So you can see that very clearly on the map there. So the two sides have now been formed, and that was really the two sides as ended up at war against each other in 1914. So Bismarck's strategy of isolating France had broken down. Now you can perhaps understand therefore why historians would therefore really egg up the alliance system as a major reason why war broke out in 1914. Okay, without the alliance system there probably wouldn't have been war in 1914. It's a very convincing argument. I mean, the war that broke out in 1914 was the alliance system that had been formed. But as with all historical arguments, we have to be very, very careful not to jump to hasty conclusions. Just because the alliance systems went to war against each other in 1914 does not necessarily mean that they were the main cause of the war. The situation had both strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so strength, just to present a counter-argument, the alliance systems arguably could help maintain the peace. Why? Well, France, as we know, wanted a revenge against Germany for her humiliating defeat in 1871. Okay, you could argue France now, feeling strong because she's got backing from Britain and Russia, may think, well, now is the time to attack Germany. On the other hand, you have to remember that if you get a local war between, say, France and Germany, then, well, France will not be at war with just Germany. France will be at war with Germany, Italy and Austria. So France will therefore think twice about going to war against Germany. Likewise, you could argue that if Germany were to attack France, she would think twice because she would be at war with Britain and Russia. So the argument is that an alliance system, because it is balanced, could actually help maintain the peace. It's a little bit like the Cold War. This is, I know, jumping off the topic a little bit, but in 1945 there were two rival superpowers, America against Russia. This is after World War II, each armed with huge amounts of weapons. Actually, for the next 40 years, it was the longest period of European peace. Why? Because neither side dared go to war against the other. Very, very similar argument. An alliance system, because it basically will mean a local war. A local war is a war between just two countries. Will not be a local war because it will bring in the allies of each side. So a local war will become a general war. Therefore, there is a disincentive to go to war. So the argument is it could actually help the peace. Okay. The weakness, of course, is the opposite argument. Yeah, there is a risk that a local conflict between any two powers may pull the other powers into a general war, which is of course what happened in 1914 when it went wrong. But it's worthwhile remembering, key argument here, the two alliance systems were in formation in 1907. Why didn't war break out in 1907? Okay, if it was that important a factor, actually there was 7 years of peace after 1907. It wasn't until 1914 that the system broke down. So there must be other factors, there must be other causes. It can't just be the alliance system. Okay, I hope that makes sense. What we'll do in the next podcast is look at that extra factor, the Balkans, the situation in the Balkans. Okay, that's the end of this podcast. Thank you.